Learning English doesn't have to be boring. Today's story is full of adventure and simple yet useful language structures to help you grow your skills naturally. Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to enjoy more fun stories every day. Let's dive right in. Ethan always believed in living quietly. He loved his routine and avoided trouble whenever he could. His days were simple. Get up, make breakfast, go to work, and come back home to watch shows or read. He liked comfort. He liked knowing exactly what to expect. One sunny afternoon, he decided to take a walk through the city park. The air was warm, the trees were full of green leaves, and children were running around playing. Ethan found a quiet bench and sat down with his coffee. He watched people pass by. Parents with strollers, teenagers on bikes, and kids flying colorful balloons. He was just about to take a sip of his coffee when he noticed something odd. A small boy, not more than 5 years old, was holding a bright red balloon. Suddenly, the balloon slipped from his little hand and floated up into the sky. The boy's face changed from happiness to sadness in a second. His small arms stretched upward as if he could still catch it, but the balloon was already out of reach. Without thinking, Ethan stood up. His legs moved before his mind could stop them. He ran after the balloon. At first he thought it would be easy. The balloon wasn't rising too fast. It floated just above the trees, gently pulled by the wind. Ethan ran across the grass, his shoes slipping on the soft ground. The boy's eyes followed him with hope. The balloon floated over a low fence at the edge of the park. Ethan didn't slow down. He jumped over the fence and kept running. The balloon was still visible, dancing above the rooftops. It floated into a narrow alley behind some shops. Ethan ran through the alley, careful not to trip over trash bins and old boxes. His breath was quick, his heart beating faster. He felt silly. Why was he chasing a balloon? But he couldn't stop now. The balloon floated higher, moving past windows and balconies. Ethan reached the end of the alley and found himself on a busy street. Cars passed by, people hurried along the sidewalks, and the red balloon drifted gently above them all. Ethan looked up. He had almost lost sight of it. Then he saw a narrow staircase at the side of a building. Without stopping to think, he ran up the stairs. The steps were old and uneven, but he climbed quickly. When he reached the top, he found himself on a rooftop with a clear view of the city. There it was, the red balloon hovering just above him, caught in a soft breeze. Ethan jumped, trying to grab the string, but it floated just out of reach. He followed it across the rooftop, careful not to slip on loose tiles. The balloon floated over to the next rooftop. Ethan looked for a way across. There was a narrow gap between the buildings with a metal ladder on the side. He climbed down quickly and crossed into the next building. As he climbed back up, he realized his hands were shaking, not just from the effort but from the strange excitement. He had never done something so spontaneous in his life. The balloon floated higher now, caught in a stronger wind. It moved toward the edge of the city, where old warehouses and abandoned buildings stood silent. Ethan hesitated. He looked back at the park far behind him and thought about stopping. But then he remembered the little boy's face, the look of hope, the silent wish that someone might bring his balloon back. Ethan took a deep breath and kept going. The streets grew quieter. The buildings became taller and darker. The air smelled of dust and old bricks. Ethan followed the balloon through a narrow street lined with graffiti-covered walls. His legs were tired, but he didn't slow down. Finally, the balloon drifted into a large, abandoned warehouse. The windows were broken and the doors hung loose. Ethan hesitated for a second, then stepped inside. Inside, the light was dim and the air cool. Dust floated in the sunlight that streamed through cracks in the walls. The balloon had settled near the high ceiling, its red color bright against the gray. Ethan looked around for something to help him reach it. He found an old wooden crate and dragged it under the balloon. Carefully, he climbed onto the crate and reached upward. His fingers just touched the string, but it was still too far. He looked around and saw a long metal pole leaning against a wall. Using the pole, he gently guided the balloon down. Finally, he grabbed the string and held it tightly. Ethan smiled. His heart was still beating fast, but now it was with happiness. He stepped outside into the sunlight. The city looked different now, more alive, more colorful. He felt like he had discovered something new. As he walked back toward the park, he thought about the journey. He had chased a balloon through alleys, over rooftops, and into abandoned places. He had run farther than he ever thought he could. And he had done it not for himself, but for a child he didn't even know. When he reached the park, the little boy was still there, looking up at the sky with sad eyes. Ethan walked over and knelt down. He handed the balloon back to the boy, who looked at it with wide, happy eyes. The boy's mother, standing nearby, nodded with gratitude. Ethan smiled and nodded back. As he walked away, he felt light and free. His ordinary day had turned into an unexpected adventure. By listening to this exciting story, you've learned useful English words and phrases, practiced past tense, conditionals, and descriptive language, all while enjoying a fun adventure. That's the power of storytelling. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done if you saw the balloon floating away? We have new stories every day, so come back for more.